What is going on, James Patrick here? Want to thank you so much for tuning to this another ranked video series where we are going to be ranking the Alien franchise. And hey, this is perfect timing because Alien Earth, the TV show, just had its season finale this week. So, what an apt time to unpack the 9 different theatrical releases that featured the xenomorph in it. So that's the 7 Alien films and then the 2 Alien vs. Predator films, and I guess you could say the 5 Alien films, the 2 prequels that Ridley Scott did, and then the 2 AVP films. So with all the ranked videos, we rank it from the absolute worst to the absolute best. And each of these films we put a score to, and we look at 10 different categories, everything from the directing to the effects to the acting to the story, to overall, was this an entertaining movie? And that helps gives some numeric value to the ranking system. It's been a few weeks since we did one of these ranked videos because we've been working on something really special, which should be launching in just a few weeks. And it's a brand new movie review podcast that we are launching that is being done in a roundtable format. And we'll be putting those episodes right here on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications. It really helps the channel out. That way you can be notified when this new podcast that my team and I are working on comes out for you. All right. So with all these, we start with the absolute worst. This isn't going to surprise anyone. Coming in at number 9 at the bottom is AVP Requiem. Listen, we've beat this movie to death already. We covered it in the Predator rank series we did. Yes, it's so pathetically dark. It's impossible to see anything in this movie. The characters are atrociously written, all one note, all cliche. The only real positive you can say about this movie is the Predator is pretty badass in this movie. The way they portray the Predator is really cool. But hey, this is an Alien movie as well, and we have to rank it from the Alien perspective. And this is not a good Alien movie. There's no story, there's no real protagonist, and ultimately, who cares? So moving up, one better, we have Alien Resurrection, which I rewatched for this. Now, what is interesting to say about this is I don't remember really liking this movie prior to rewatching it. There are some good elements to this movie. There's a lot of bad, and there's a lot that gets dated and doesn't look great in contrast. And then some of it looks really good to this day, particularly the practical effects. But what I noticed that was so fascinating is how many parallels exist between Alien Resurrection and Fede Alvarez's release, most recent release, Alien Romulus. I mean, yes, we had the engineer hybrid, which there's a hybrid alien in this. Existing on a space station, the interference of a synthetic in the narrative structure, the pirate angle, the scavenger angle, all these exist in both films. There's I would say an alarming number of parallels between these two movies. But overall, this movie feels so of its time. It was released in the 90s. It feels like a 90s movie, from the cinematography to the extreme characters. They kept using this really annoying close-up macro cinematography that's just they did it to create unease in the audience, but really it just kind of makes you queasy. This is not a well-filmed movie. It has a very awful color grade. The practical effects are good, but they only really show the top half of an alien. If they have to show the full alien, they're using CGI, and the CGI is really, really rough and really doesn't hold up. It does have a decent score, though. There is some good music in it. The editing's really poor. There's a lot of fast cut editing. It's hard to track what is going on. I will give them a kudos. They tried to do something different. Ron Perlman was good in this movie. I liked his character a lot. Outside of that, there's nothing in this movie. Even Sigourney Weaver's character is not interesting in this movie. And then they had the shark alien, or an alien swimming like it as if it were a shark, and it's it's rough. Moving on. Okay, so at number 7 we have AVP, And we talked about this in the Predator ranked as well. It kicks off with those Jurassic Park style intros where we have to give every character a little bit of context and color before they all come together and in an adventure as a unit. The script feels very fan fiction. There's no real tension, no real drama. It plays out without really anything seemingly at stake. It's hard to really get into the characters. There's no arcs, and thus there's not really much to be invested in. But there's some really good practical work here. There's some pretty good lighting design. Um, the CGI is rough, yeah, uh, but they use a lot of practical effects in this, and the practical effects are good. It is cool. It is cool to see the Alien v Predator play out on the big screen. So there is that fan service there. Um, it was PG-13 though, and what a bummer. What a bummer that they did that. That is so unfortunate. That of anything that they did, I should say, of all the fan service they did, the fact that they made this PG-13, it shows that they really didn't care that much about the fans. All right, moving up from there is Alien Covenant. I had read some stuff that Alien Covenant was getting a little bit of a revival, that people were rewatching it and enjoying it more than they had, and that people were giving it more credit than it had gotten in the past. And I can't say I saw that. This was a rough film. The cinematography, how, and I had to look this up because the cinematography, the lighting design, the camera work between Prometheus and Alien Covenant is a night and day difference. Prometheus, which we'll get into, is grand and has this really phenomenal lighting design, phenomenal color grading, phenomenal camera work. And then you come to Covenant and it's dark and it's hard to see and the camera work is uninspired. And it was actually, not only was it the same director, it's the same cinematographer. And I found that really shocking because of how bad the drop off is in the camera work in this. The cast is incredibly dull. The effects, I think, go backwards. I think the effects in Prometheus were far superior than the effects in Alien Covenant. They really tried to just play fan service. They relied on cheap gore as opposed to actually building suspense, which is something that, even if you don't like Prometheus, it's something that Prometheus did really well. Um, Michael Fassbender, I think, was one of the only benefits of this movie. I think the elimination of the Shaw character off screen was a disservice to fans, insultingly bad CGI and really bad casting. So why did it rank higher than some of the others? Uh, It was somewhat entertaining. It was cool to see the alien on the side of the spaceship, like, what you see on the cover here. Michael Fassbender is really good in this movie. Um, there are some really horrific scenes in this movie. Um, Overall, they put more into this movie than they put into the other movies that are lower on this list. But I would not say there's a world of difference in scoring. There wasn't, only a few points between this and AVP. All right, so moving up to number 5, we have the most recent installment, Fede Alvarez's Alien Romulus, which they just announced that they're working on the sequel that he will not be directing, which is curious, certainly interesting. So Romulus was so incredibly anticipated. And I have to say, I've watched it a few times. Every time I rewatch it, I like it less. So when the Romulus Part 2 comes out and I have to redo this list, Romulus may drop below Alien Covenant. There are good parts about this movie. There's really good practical effects. David Johnson's character is phenomenal, phenomenal acting. I mean, he steals the show. Every scene he's in, he is taking it. Outside of that, it is an incredibly flawed casting and of incredibly bad written characters. Really cliche one note characters that they just didn't cast well. And thus you don't care about anyone. And it's hard to follow the stakes of this. And it's hard to get invested in these characters if you just don't like these characters. And that's something that the first few Alien movies did incredibly well, was to get you to actually care about these characters and realize the difference between the characters and the nuances of the different characters' motivations. That is pinnacle of why these movies were so iconic, is the character work and the character development. and that is completely absent in this. The CGI of the Rook character was insulting. The obvious studio interference in Act 3. Act 3 is so heavily in studio interference, and it just shifts tones so much, where there's a lot of really good tense scenes and a lot of good, well-filmed stuff early in, Act 1 and definitely in Act 2 as they're building in. And Act 3 just kind of falls apart. It falls off, and it's such a disappointment, and it really pulls the movie down. Um, but, the biggest issue with this is just going back to the characters. These are really bad characters, really poorly written characters that hold the movie down. So even though the practical effects are insanely good, um, the camera work is really, really good. Perfect sound design, absolutely perfect sound design in this movie. Uh, really poorly written characters and really poorly acted characters hold this movie back. All right, moving up to number 4, we have Alien 3. Now, there's a caveat to this. This is the assembly cut of Alien 3, which you can order on Blu-ray or DVD. This was not the theatrical release. If this were the theatrical release, and I was grading the theatrical release, I would put the theatrical release right below Romulus in the ranking, and Romulus would rank one higher. But the assembly cut is vastly improved from the theatrical release. So I chose to grade the assembly cut, and I put it at number 4. Um, in order to effectively rank this, I think we as especially fans of Aliens have to set aside how angry we were about the elimination of Newt and Hicks, and for all intents and purposes, Bishop, who has just more of a cameo in this film, um, and look at the film on its surface. One, it does something. It tries to take something, a unique approach to the franchise. It was the third installment in the franchise, and each one did something different. So the fact that they didn't repeat themselves, I thought was really good. And in a lot of ways, this movie works. The score is incredibly good. It feels so big and so large. I love the soundtrack to this movie. I love the use of the alien vision in the movie. One of the biggest critiques of this is the characters all run together, and there's no differentiation between the characters. You can't really tell who's who. They all have shaved heads. For the most part, they're all white, so it's really hard to tell the difference between any of them. That gets changed in the assembly cut. The assembly cut has a lot more footage that focuses on the development and the differentiation of these characters, that helps reveal their motivations so much more. It also changes the structure of how Act 2 goes into Act 3. And I don't want to ruin it, but if you've read the novelization of Alien 3, it tracks the novelization of Alien 3. So obviously the novelization was written off the assembly cut, not the theatrical release. So things happen differently that get them into the third act. And that's really all I can say. But it is so much more interesting for the audience to watch this. Um, I like the camera work in this movie. I love the color grading in this movie. It does suffer from two, I think, really big things. One, the audio for the vocals is very muddy, and particularly with the accents, it's really hard to track what people are saying. So I found myself watching it with closed captioning on to really be able to understand what every person was saying, because it's just not good sound design for vocals. Um, and then the CGI gets dated really quickly. And they were trying something different with the alien. They wanted the alien to move faster and to climb on walls and ceilings. And they're relying on technology that just hasn't aged very well. But another positive is, for the third film in a row, Alien, Aliens, and now Alien 3, they created an arc for Ripley. And the arc was powerful in the theatrical cut. It's even more powerful in the assembly cut. The fact that they were able to take a singular character and give her 3 arcs, I think, is truly amazing. The first arc of, the um, stepping into the role of the hero, the second arc stepping into the role of the mother, and the third arc stepping into the role of self-sacrifice. Um, all so well. Her acting in this is so good. Um, I was so impressed with how much I enjoyed. And to be fair, I enjoyed Alien 3, the theatrical cut, as much as I hated what they did to the characters, and I was so desperate for Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5 that would either retcon Alien 3 or act in between Aliens and Alien 3. I wanted that so bad. I enjoyed I believe it was the William Goldsmith script. If I got that wrong, correct me in the comments. For Alien 3, which you can get in an audio version. I enjoyed that narrative structure and what they did with those characters in that one. But I would highly recommend check out the assembly cut. It really adds some more context to this movie. All right, moving on to the top three. At number three, we have Prometheus. This was a massive visual undertaking. It was beautifully filmed, great score, really good sound design, really good color grading. Michael Fassbender is brilliant in this. He steals the show. We have a thing in the most recent movies where the androids are stealing the show from Michael Fassbender to David Johnson's. But everyone else kind of sucks in this movie outside of Fassbender's character. Even Charlize Theron's character is very one note and not that good. And I really do not understand why they cast Guy Pearce as Wayland. Like, I know that they wanted the flashbacks in the sequel, but you could have just had two different actors. That makeup job was for as much they invested into set design in this movie and the makeup for the engineers and the costume design for the engineers, so good. And then you have a guy who's clearly in wearing a rubber mask as playing Wayland, and that was shockingly disappointing. But there are a lot of good tense moments, even though the characters are really dumb and put themselves in tense moments. A critique on this movie: don't like the editing. They fast cut a lot of the action, which does make it a little hard to track. And some of the CGI, particularly with the development of the alien in the third act, I don't think it looks good. I don't think it deserved in the Alien franchise. I think the Alien franchise deserves better than that. All right, moving on. So in our top two, you already know what the top two are. It's just which one do I prefer? And I think this is going to split you guys 50-50. But here's the thing: like what you like. And I think anyone who's a fan of this franchise would put these two movies in number one and number two. And I'm guessing 50% of you have it one way, 50% of you have it the other way. And there's no wrong answer because they're both excellent films. But for me, I put the original 1979 Alien at number two. I mean, this movie is perfect in so many ways. The cinematography, the score, the amazing character development in it, the intense, gritty, slow burn atmospheric horror is really just bar none. I mean, this is a masterclass in horror sci-fi, and it's such a powerful movie. And I've rewatched it in theaters upon re-release. I definitely enjoy rewatching it for this list. So the question is, if this movie's so good, and it is, I mean, this is as close to perfect as the movies you can get. Why would I put this as number two and not number one? And honestly, the reason is just that I have more fun with Aliens. That's it. I think they're both perfect movies. They both have highlights. Like the original Alien, I think leans so heavy into the slow burn horror, and I really love the atmosphere, tension, and buildup. The uh, Dallas in the tunnels, I think, is just such like a visceral and terrifying scene. Brett, tracking down Jonesy the cat is another terrifying scene. I mean, so good. Aliens, I just have more fun with. I think it's brilliantly written. You have such a larger cast of characters that all have nuance and all have identities and all have motivations and are all unique without feeling cliche. The acting is phenomenal. The thing that you could say, well, is it more entertaining because there's more action? Yes, the action's phenomenal in this movie. This leaned more into the action than the horror, although there are some very tense, scary moments in this. I wouldn't say this is a horror film as much as the original. But the thing that I think edges out in my version of the entertainment is the pacing. I love the pacing of Aliens. It plays so quickly that before you know it, the movie's already over. It really runs you through, and it's not a short film, but it runs you through the three acts in uh, such a way that you don't notice how fast the time is clicking away. I love Ripley's portrayal, or I should say Sigourney Weaver's portrayal of Whitney in this movie. The lighting, the set design, uh, the intensity. I really like the James Horner score in this, and I know some aficionados will say, well, it's kind of just a rehash of his Wrath of Khan Star Trek 2 score, and that's just the same thing. I was like, yeah, but I like it. It fits. It's really good. It's tense, especially when Bishop's flying out at the very end of the movie, and the drums and the brass are going. I think it is so good. There are so many memorable scenes in this that I go back to, and I would say out of any movie, any film across any genre, I've seen Aliens more than any of them, and I would be willing to rewatch Aliens more than any film because of how fun it is, because of how good the characters are, how good the practical effects are, how terrifying the movie is, how fast paced the movie is, how it holds your attention the entire runtime of this movie. Like I said, this and Alien are both perfect movies in my estimation. I just edge Aliens out a little higher simply because I love the pacing, I love the action, I love the development of the characters, and I just have more fun watching it. But I'm curious your thoughts and where your rankings are. Also, I'm curious, where would you rank the Alien TV show, Alien Earth, in this? If you were to add this in, I'll give you my opinion. Let me think here. I'd put it around where I would have ranked Covenant. So what is that? Number 6? Yeah, I would have put it around there. And it's harder to rank that show. And maybe I should do a breakdown of the show. If you want me to do a breakdown of the show, let me know in the comment section. Because there are episodes that I feel would have edged into the top 4 or 5, and then there are episodes that would rank more in the 7 to 9 range of this ranking. Um, there were episodes I really enjoyed and episodes I really was perplexed by. But curious your thoughts. Put them in the comment section below. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we have the podcast dropping soon. More details on that, including the name reveal here shortly. So hit that subscribe button. Thank you for sharing this video with a friend. We'll catch you all on the next screening. Take care, everyone.